I'm Tom.
And we are Velocities in Music via IMTV. Today, guys, we're going to do a throwback album from one of modern rock's greatest bands, and will surely go down in history as one of the greatest modern acts of the 2000s. The White Stripes' second album, Stijl. Stijl is Dutch for the style, which actually... Do yourselves a favor, since you're watching this on a computer probably. Please go to a Google image search. Do not type in the White Stripes. Just type in DE space STIJL. And what you'll see is you'll see the White Stripes album, Stijl, the album cover, and then you'll see the Stijl paintings, and then you'll just see the Stijl furniture style, which actually the album was dedicated to the guy who did the Stijl furniture. And they, the White Stripes encountered this style of art, and they're very, Jack White and Meg White are very influenced by art, and obviously that shows in all their album covers and their abstract approach to writing blues songs, and Meg White's minimalist drumming and all that. But a long story short, Stijl has kind of become a cult classic. It was really a very high quality album for the White Stripes that came out before the band's really mainstream breakthrough in White Blood Cells and Elephant, which is where most people, I think, got into the White Stripes. I got into the White Stripes after Napoleon Dynamite came out and heard that one, We're Gonna Be Friends song, and after that, I got into all their other stuff, and then it wasn't until much, much later that I really got into their first two albums, and Stijl is now, I think, my favorite White Stripes album. And I like the White Stripes. I've always been a fan of the White Stripes, but not like the hardcore fans, because I know there's a lot of diehards out there. But really, just in the past couple months, just in the past like 2 or 3 months, I've just been going through this White Stripes craze. So when we started this new request system, where if you write us and send us an email that is just, you have an album request, and you do a really good job of explaining, why you want us to, what album you want to request, why you want us to request it, why you like or dislike this the album you're requesting, and what you think we'll say, and what does it bring to the the music community of us reviewing it. And the best written requests we take every 2 weeks and we review it. And so a writer, somebody who submitted an email request to us, Jeremy, requested Stijl. It was a great request. We had to honor it. So here we are. Now, I already said that I love this album, but Tom has some interesting takes on his experience with the White Stripes and Stijl.
Well, I've actually never been a fan of the White Stripes. I've never really liked them. The songs that I've heard of theirs, some of them I think are pretty damn good, and then the other ones just annoyed the crap out of me. So I never really felt compelled to get into them. So now, obviously, I was forced to, and I really appreciated that. First time I listened to Stijl, I was sorely disappointed. I was like, this is not doing anything new. It's not very interesting, blah, blah, blah. Second time, I liked it a little better. Honestly, I probably listened to this album about 6 times, and every time I liked it better. At first, I was like, well, I don't see myself going above a 65 for this. And then I was like, I don't see myself going above a low 70s. Well, not to spoil anything, but I'm going to go low 80s for this one, because it really is good. And what took me a while to realize is, first off, that you have to accept the fact before you listen to this album that really the style has been done. The style of this album pretty much has been covered between the years 1968 and 1970, between the Beatles' White Album and Led Zeppelin's first 3 albums. That's most of what you will get from this record, from the sounds of it. Now, obviously, the songwriting is a different thing. And the focus is a different thing, because in Led Zeppelin, which I think you could really compare the songwriting style to strongly. But Led Zeppelin is all about the craziness of the guitar, bass, and drums, and Robert Plant's shrill vocals.
Yeah, Led Zeppelin's the father of heavy metal.
Yeah, and this is stripped down. This focuses more on the bluesy aspects and just on the guitar with the simple drums. So you don't get all that crazy extra stuff or none of the keyboard. Now you do get some cool piano stuff on here, some cool extra instrumentation. I like that they throw that in, because it really spices it up and adds needed variety, because on first listen, this kind of all sounds the same. Once you listen to it more, you realize the subtle differences between the tracks, and more importantly, you realize that all of these tracks are good. All of these tracks are good. I cannot point to a single song on here and just say, this is bad. I think probably one of the weakest songs on the album is the first track, You're Pretty Good Looking for a Girl.
I think it's actually the weakest track.
Yeah, I think so too. But it works well as an opener.
It works as an opener.
Because,
it's like introducing the concept.
Exactly. Because of its placement, it works well. So,
and it sets the mood very well.
Exactly. Another reason I think I didn't like this much at first is because of the context I was listening to it and because of the situation and the mindset I was in. I was being way too analytical. And if you look too deeply into this, you're gonna be disappointed. The whole point of this album is to just let the mood sweep over you and to have fun listening to it. And if you can't do that, you're not gonna like it. Now, obviously, I think that is kind of a limiting factor.
Absolutely.
But still, what they do well.
I want to tell you that I've never wanted to hug you more than I do right now, but we're gonna say that.
All right.
No, I'm glad that you kind of had that revelation. To me, and I went through the same thing. It's just I did it over a period of 4 to 5 years, where you did it in a period of 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And to me, Tom, this album, you know, I went through the same thing where I was being way too analytical at first, and what I had to realize over time is that, you know, even if, you know, Meg White as a drummer, the White Stripes get a ton of crap about Meg White's just very simplistic, almost just rudimentary drumming. And to tell you the truth, I really do think it's all by design, because what the point of the White Stripes is to me is all the things that Tom said, and it's just Jack White playing the blues. It's keeping the blues fresh in modern times and putting a new spin on it. If Meg White's drumming were to be expansive and spastic and crazy, one, it would distract from what Jack White's doing and all the stylistic things that he's doing on guitar, but two, it would sound like Led Zeppelin. It's already been done. They wanted to put a spin on this. They wanted to give it an artistic expression. And just from White Stripes artwork, and you know their knowledge of art, you can tell that the White Stripes have a design in mind. You know, they want an abstract sound, and that's what you get, and that's why you can't be so analytical. To me, when I enjoy the White Stripes the most is at night when I'm just sitting, I'm relaxing. I put the White Stripes on, and I get a glass of whiskey, and I just relax. Damn it, I love that. And this is my go-to just fun album. And it's because you can think of it, and that's how I feel like it's a gateway to, it opens the doors for you to appreciate what they're doing, because Jack White's guitar work really is pretty darn good. It's not going to be the most technically complex thing you've ever heard, nor is it going to be the prettiest sounding thing you've ever heard, but it has so much style. He is the Miles Davis of blues guitar, and I love it. I can't get enough of it, and I think he's a good vocalist too. The lyrics are interesting, the vocals are interesting. I really think that this album provides a ton of variety. Track 6, the Death Letter, the Sun House cover, classic blues, that's such a good cover. It totally makes the song their own, and I think that cover, Death Letter, might be like one of my favorite songs of all time. Like, I cannot stop listening to that track, and I think that this album as a whole is just fantastic. I'm going 91. I'm
going to go 83.
What do you guys think? Now, the White Stripes are officially done. They called it quits on February 2nd, 2011, and they, you know, for good reason. They didn't want to ruin what they had established. 6 high-quality albums, calling it quits, making a name for themselves. I love it. But what do you guys think? You know, give us your thoughts on the White Stripes, what you think of Distill. Leave us a comment, www.velocitiesandmusic.com or youtube.com/velocitiesandmusic. Also, please follow us on Facebook, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and that's where we're doing all our talking. And by the way, please always feel free to submit requests. Just give us a good couple paragraphs as to why you want the album. We'll honor it. Thanks, Jeremy, for the request. That's the White Stripes Distill. I'm Jake.
I'm Tom.
And we are VIMTV, moving music critique forward.